Thank you, Madam President. And colleagues, I rise in strong support of ACA 8. Today's conversation just reminded me of something that my grandmother said, and that is, if you don't know your history, your children will be doomed to repeat it. When our people marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, facing dogs and fire hoses and the terror of Jim Crow and racial violence, we were not only demanding the right to vote for ourselves, we were expanding the promise of democracy for the nation. And out of that sacrifice came the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the most important civil rights law in our history. And yet, every year since the act was passed, Texas has found ways to violate it. A reminder that progress is never permanent and vigilance is always required. And Californians know, and what today's vote on ACA 8 is about, is that this fight is not over. The same forces that tried to stop us in Selma are still working today to silence our voices through voter suppression and this Texas gerrymandering. In fact, we must honor the Voting Rights Act not just with memory, but with action. And we must protect the right to vote and ensure that we are strengthening all communities of interest, ensuring people who have saved our democracy can never be shut out again. ACA 8 is about one thing: defending our democracy from being rigged by a tyrant. Texas and other Republican-led states are rushing through a mid-decade redistricting scheme designed to steal seats in Congress. In Texas, what this looks like is that Black Texans will lose much of their power, being reduced to about a fifth of what their power was before this gross attack. This is not just a power grab. It is a direct attack on communities of interest, on young voters, and on anyone who stands for equity and justice and due process of law. Californians, we understand that we cannot sit back while these extremists tilt the balance of power under this hand of Donald Trump and unchecked control of Congress. We cannot let this happen. And ACA 8 provides a safeguard. It states that if Texas gerrymanders their maps, California will temporarily adjust ours to level the playing field. And we understand we always need to work at leveling the playing field. Time and time again, when our nation's future was on the line, this history of the Black vote is key because it's carried us forward. ACA 8 offsets partisan gerrymanders in Texas. It protects vulnerable communities here in California. And it's not maps alone that safeguard our future. Let's remember our history. And let's take a closer look at Texas history. Texas once saw Black political power rise during Reconstruction, as it had across much of the country, only to be stripped away by the Black codes and Jim Crow and racial terror, poll taxes, white-only primaries that cut Black voter rolls in Texas from over 100,000 to just a few thousand. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 reclaimed that. But today's gerrymandering in Texas, the voter suppression, shows that Texas is now sliding back. A reminder that every generation must fight to keep democracy alive, and that is what we are stepping up to the plate to do here in California. This is bigger than what we are doing on this floor, and it's bigger than what our voters will have to do this November. This is about sending a clear message to the nation and the world that we will not allow Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans to steal elections from the people. We know what happens when Trump has power. Many of my colleagues have described the painful and cruelty of it. Denying disaster relief to fire victims, imposing illegal tariffs that is destroying our economy and threatening hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of workers. He's hurting working families by rolling back over 60 years of hard-fought labor protections. He's ordered the mass arrest, deportations, racial profiling, and terrorizing of families and children. He's criminalizing diversity, dismantling DEI programs that protect equity in our schools and in our workplaces, and that allows us to grow and be innovative by bringing new voices and ideas and thought partners to the table. If given unchecked control, we know that Trump will roll back decades of human, civil, women, workers' rights. ACA 8 is California once again standing up to defend democracy, just as we have led on climate resiliency, just as we have led on workers' rights, on women's rights, on equity. Today, we will lead on protecting free and fair elections. Let's make sure the voice of California and all Californians will not be silenced by partisan power grabs at the hands of a dictator. And with that, I respectfully urge and I vote on ACA 8.